Hello, dear students. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to a new lecture. In this lecture, we're taking a reading comprehension lesson in the theme travel and tourism. So let's start. As an introduction to our theme, we have here a YouTube video which will introduce a lot of topics about mass tourism, which is the first lesson, and you will get a clear idea as an introduction to our lesson. However, I won't be able to play this video currently because when I upload it on the YouTube, it will block me as for copyrights. So I recommend you follow this link here and you watch this video. The essential question for our lesson is, how is mass tourism a blessing and a curse at the same time? And what can be done to save ancient cultures? So mass tourism means when there's a great number of tourists visiting the same place. For example, as you can see here, let's suppose all these are tourists on this beach. So you can see already that there is a great number of people visiting one place. So how can this fact, mass tourism, be a blessing and a curse, which means a blessing having advantages, results, or effects on that country or that place, and at the same time, disadvantages, which makes it a curse, especially on the ancient cultures like the ancient cities or buildings or places that tourists do visit. So please make or keep this question in mind while we are explaining this lesson. Now, the genre for this lesson is expository or informational, which we studied before. So in an expository text, the text would be providing information and facts about a specific topic, and for sure in a logical order for you to understand the point that's being presented. The organization of this informational text is problem solution, which means this text will be presenting for you the problem of mass tourism and then suggesting some solutions to solve this problem. This genre, as we said, presents information and facts about a topic in logical order. It may include text features such as subheadings, photos, and diagrams to explain more and show you the topic that's being explained and on which the information are being presented. This genre also supports the idea with reasons and evidence, examples with concrete details, facts, and live examples, as we said, to clarify the point for you and make it relatable to your real life. And lastly, it may offer the author's conclusions supported by evidence. So what the author who's writing this text believes, and this will be presented at the end of the text. Here are the vocabulary words which we need to understand while reading this lesson. So these vocabulary words are words that will be mentioned in the text. We will be introduced to them and understanding their meaning. Hence, you will be able not only to understand them while reading them, but also you will be able to use them in your own sentences and your own writings. So let's look at the first vocabulary word, which is emergence. We're going to read this vocabulary word in a context in the sentence and try to find its meaning. So the sentence says, people in the community are excited by the emergence of several new businesses along the main street. So something new, a new business is being emerged, is being introduced, coming out, all right? The second vocabulary word is cornerstone. Because trust is the cornerstone of a healthy marriage, it is essential for spouses to have faith in each other. So as you can see in the context of this sentence, they're talking about something essential, something very important for the healthy marriage. So trust is a cornerstone for a healthy marriage. So what word or synonym can you replace instead of cornerstone to fit and have the same meaning? You can say it's the basis, or it's something that's core, all right? So cornerstone is the basis for something. Trust is the basis for having a healthy marriage. The third word is tourist. Who are the tourists? They are the people who visit that place. Let's look at the sentence. With a schedule in hand, the tourist quickly walked to each site so that she could visit them all during her trip. So they're saying that the tourist is visiting several places, several sites during her trip. This means that the tourist is the person who's going on a trip to visit some places. The fourth vocabulary word is sophisticated. I never enjoyed reading sophisticated novels. I prefer to read simple ones. Now, from the context, we can see clearly that the first part of the sentence, I never enjoy reading sophisticated novels, is opposite to the other part, which means sophisticated is opposite to simple. So sophisticated means complex, which is opposite to simple. The fifth vocabulary word is splendor. The people are amazed at the splendor of the Queen's diamond crown, the magnificence of that diamond crown. Okay? And the sixth and last vocabulary word is afford. I can't afford to buy a brand new car since I lost my job 2 months ago. So I can't afford buying this means that I do not have the enough money or the enough amount of money to buy this. Okay? Now on the next slide, we have the definitions written there in front of you directly. So here we have emergence, the arrival, the coming of something. Cornerstone, the basis of something. Foundation, it's like an important quality on which particular thing depends. As we said, the marriage depends on trust. So it's the cornerstone, it's the basis for marriage. Tourist, as we said, is the person who travels and visits places for pleasure or interest. Sophisticated is complex or complicated. Splendor means magnificent or having a magnificent appearance. And afford means to have enough money to pay for it. So if you say, I cannot afford it, this means that you do not have enough money. If you can afford it, means that you have enough money to pay for it. Now let's start with the reading lesson so that we understood the vocabulary words, we'll be able to understand them in the context of the lesson. Paragraph number 1. With the emergence of mass tourism in the second half of the 20th century, people all around the world are encouraged to travel, and the number of tourists is on the increase year after year. Today, tourism is a major industry in many countries. Even in some countries, it has become the cornerstone of the economy. So before I continue, here they're saying that mass tourism has emerged, came out to be wide, to be really present in the 20th century. So it's really present, mass tourism, which means so many people are visiting same places in different areas in the world. And some countries do depend on tourism to support their economy because tourists visit places and pay money, and that country benefits and gets income through tourism. Tomorrow, there will be more tourists and more tour guides, more travel agents, and more tourism developers. Yet, no one is considering what I shall call here tourist awareness. Paragraph 2. Imagine what would happen to a virgin area with the invasion of tourist monsters. In no time at all, it will be infested by what we call nowadays holiday makers. Although tourism may help to raise the standard of living in a certain area and open new job opportunities to many people, it may also create enormous social, cultural, and environmental problems. So, as you can see by now in the first paragraph, what the author did is that the author introduced to us, as we do in any essay, the author introduced in this expository text mass tourism and defined it to us with presenting some background information. In the second paragraph, the author is introducing to us the fact that mass tourism can be a blessing, such as creating new job opportunities in that country, supporting the economy of that country. And on the other hand, it may have its disadvantages on that country, like creating social, cultural, and environmental problems. Paragraph 3. Think about the problems shared by all well-known crowded tourist places. The ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Rome, for instance, painted by the Michelangelo hundreds of years ago, is gradually disappearing because of the breath and perspiration of tourists. So that place is getting affected because of the breath and perspiration of the tourists, as simple as that. There are so many tourist feet that the paths in some of America's national parks and Europe's historical sites are suffering greatly. Soon, it will be impossible to swim in the Mediterranean, the cradle of civilization and the most attractive summer resort for most tourists. One solution for the tourist countries is to raise the cost of visiting them, thus reducing the number of tourists and making sure that they remain in firm control and minimize social, cultural, and environmental negative effects of tourism. Although some say these are unjust solutions because only the rich can afford to visit these countries, it can be argued that they are the most practical until the human mind can come up with better ideas. So in the fourth paragraph, the author is suggesting solutions, which is mainly to raise the costs for visiting these places. Some people do not agree with that solution because it would be really costly to visit different places, which means only the wealthy people will be visiting these places. However, maybe this would be the only solution available. Let's continue reading paragraph 5. In the 21st century, more hotels and tourist resorts with sophisticated facilities will be built. By the improvements brought to the means of transportation, it will even be easier for tourists to get to more destinations around the world. But shall we be able to break away from all the ideas and bring forward more awareness to both the tourists as well as the travel agents? Or will the great monuments from the past and the fantastic spots of the splendor and beauty never survive? So the author here is opening new doors for the reader to think of, which is, do we raise awareness to both the tourists and the travel agents, or these great monuments from the past, from ancient times, will be affected by tourism? Will they be able to survive or not? So, as we saw, the author presented for us the problem of mass tourism, introduced first that problem, and then the author explained and gave us real-life examples of these problems, and then or the effects of this problem on the countries and the ancient places, and then suggested some solutions. And at the end, the author concluded the text with some recommendations and questions for the author to think about, for the reader to think about. So what do you think? Should an awareness be raised for the tourists and the tourism agents, for also the places to survive and take these solutions or not? Now, let's solve these comprehension questions. In part A, using your own words, you will have to answer these questions with complete sentences. Question 1 asks you to suggest a possible title for the above text other than the one provided. And here the answers would vary. Question 2, referring to paragraph 1, what does the writer mean by mass tourism, which we already explained? I want you to refer to the text and try to find it again. Now I will tell you the answer. As we explained, mass tourism means that a great number of people are visiting the same place, and hence they will cause pollution or any other disadvantageous effect on these ancient places. Question 3, in connotation, the whole of paragraph 1 is positive. Connotation means some words have a positive connotation. When I say this is beautiful, the word beautiful has a positive connotation. When I say this is nasty, the word nasty has a negative connotation, a negative meaning. So they're telling you in connotation, the whole of paragraph 1 is positive except for the end. So you need to explain how is it being negative at the end of paragraph 1. So you need to go back to the first paragraph, look at the bulk of it, and then look at the end and find how it's being negative at the end. Question 4, identify and explain one figure of speech mentioned in paragraph 2. Remember, in the descriptive essay, we describe various figures of speech, simile, metaphor, personification. So you need to find one figure of speech in paragraph 2. In paragraph 3, the writer mentions live examples about the problem shared by all well-known crowded touristic places. So you need to provide 2 similar live examples about the problem shared by touristic places in your own country. So if you live in US, for example, you need to provide 2 similar live examples of tourism on the country, on the crowded touristic places in your own country. Okay. Question 6. It asks you about paragraph 4. The writer suggested that the cost of visiting tourist countries to do better if it's raised. Do you agree with him? Yes or no? And in both cases, you need to illustrate on your answer. Question 7, if you were given a free ticket to visit a touristic country, what country would you choose to go to and why? So I need to provide 2 reasons to support your answer. Now, question part B, you need to skim paragraph 2 to pick out 2 advantages and 3 disadvantages of mass tourism and fill them in the chart below. And part C, you need to complete the statements with some information from the text. The first one says, because of the great improvements brought to the means of transportation, because of that, so this is the cause, what would the effect be based on the text? The second one, when people raise the cost of visiting tourist countries, when this happens, what would the effect be? So you have the causes and you need to look for the effects in the text. The answer key is here. After solving the questions, please correct your answers and check if you did them right. This is the answer key for the first 4 questions in part A, 5, 6, and 7, part B, and part C. By now, our lecture comes to an end. I hope that you got a clear idea of the problem of mass tourism. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate to send me an email. And you can follow me on my page, Learn with Maha, on Instagram. And have a nice day.